Okay, hi, this is just a short video to talk about how virtualization works and what options are available to you. An awful lot of classes we teach pretty much will require you to have some sort of a virtual machine. Okay, so what are we talking about? Well, virtualization is a really cool idea of you essentially installing another operating system on your PC in a way that doesn't mess up the original. So I have a Windows 11 machine at home, but in a little window, I install Windows 10. So I have two operating systems running simultaneously. It's a pretty cool idea. The real machine, the physical machine, is just called the main or the host. And then the guest thing, the thing that's in the window, is a VM virtual machine or guest. That's the fake one. And it virtualizes everything. It has it has a fake keyboard and a fake mouse and a fake whatever, and it connects those devices to the physical devices. So it has a fake CPU and a fake graphics card, that kind of stuff, and it just connects to your machine. It's all magic. Anyway, it's a great scenario to install a different operating system. It works great, although an awful lot of times, if you're going to install Windows 10, you're going to need the install media and a license key. That's not a problem for most students because we have Azure DevTools for Teaching, which allows you to download an ISO file plus an activation key. Now, this is the perfect scenario for home because maybe I don't want to mess up my computer at home. I've got things exactly the way I want it. I don't want to install a bunch of junk, and as I'm only going to use it for one semester, I'm never ever going to use it ever again, kind of a thing. Well, doing it as a VM is perfect for that kind of scenario, because when you're done at the end of the semester, you just delete the VM and presto changeo. You've done nothing at all to your real machine. Kind of cool. And in the classroom, it's even better, because if you install Windows 10 in the classroom machines at the university, you become administrator over that VM. I mean, not the whole machine, not the host, but the guest machine. You become the administrator. You can do an awful lot more things in that virtual world than you could in the physical world. Some other cool features, portable. I mean, I have a USB flash drive. I carry a virtual machine with me wherever I go. I mean, that sounds kind of crazy, but I'm a crazy kind of guy. It allows you to freeze the operation. I mean, you could be typing Mary Had a Little and just freeze the machine, shut it down, power down the computer completely, go off on vacation for a week, come back, hit the power button, bring your physical machine back up, launch your virtual machine, and the cursor is going to be right there where you left off, and you can type lamb and hit the return. That is pretty doggone cool. It also has, built-in backup and restore. I tell people, as soon as you got Windows 10, as soon as you got Windows 10 up and running, configured the way you want and activated, do a snap. It's called a snapshot. Do a snapshot backup of this thing. So if you blow it up, halfway through the semester, you can always get back without having to reinstall everything. And then there's a thing called a snapshot or screenshot. That should have been screenshot, sorry. A way to create a screenshot of the entire thing, because an awful lot of our assignments say, give me a screenshot of such and such. And so that'd be the way that works. Okay, so here are the choices. It's kind of strange. So local virtualization means stuff that's installed on your machine. So let's just go through it. There's a thing called a Type 1 hypervisor and a Type 2 hypervisor. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Type 1s are actually better. They're faster, a heck of a lot more faster. And because they don't have to go through awful lot of fakery. For example, let's just say, that you spent like $2,000 on a super duper gaming graphics card. Okay. Using a Type 1, your virtual machine could hit that graphics card and do wondrous things. You can play games. A Type 2 emulates the hardware. It does not actually directly talk to it. So it's going to be a 1985 style VGA adapter. And so you wasted a lot of money doing it that way. So Type 1s are pretty doggone cool. And they're a lot faster, and they're close to the metal and can talk directly to the devices. The problem is they're not very portable, and that doesn't work very well in a lot of scenarios. Plus, it requires Windows and Windows Pro editions. So that doesn't work everywhere. VirtualBox is a type 2. We use that one. Parallels is another one. Now, maybe that's not going to work for you. For example, if you have a brand new, Apple with a Apple Silicon M1 or M2 chip in it, you're not going to be able to do Parallels. You're going to have some sort of emulation. The one I use is called UTM, and it basically is the same concept. It's just it translates my machine language into another CPU architecture. And then, of course, cloud-based. It's like if none of the above work, then, of course, you can just go to the cloud and say, hey, build me a machine out there, and I'll just install my own software. Okay, so we're going to go through a little bit more detail. So type 1 and type 2s. A type 1 is, close to the metal, which means it can talk directly to the devices. That's cool, which means it's really, really fast. A type 2 is just an application like anything else. You just launch it like you want to launch Word. You click on Word. Well, here, if you want to launch, for example, VirtualBox. If you want to launch VirtualBox, you just click on the icon. It's just an application like any other. It doesn't even require administrator rights once you've got it installed. And so it much, much more portable. And I can move it between machines. I can work on something at the office, unplug my, have it like on a USB drive, go to the classroom, plug it in, pick up where I left off, unplug it, go home and plug it into a third machine, and it all just works. That is fantastic. So Microsoft Hyper-V is an example of a type 1. And then VirtualBox is an example of a type 2. And we already have VirtualBox installed in the classrooms. So all right, one more time now. Often, the point of virtualization is to get you to be able to install some software that's specific for the class you're trying to run. For example, if you're doing a malware class, you might have to install some really cool malware detection routines. So if that project requires you to install, honest to God, real Windows applications, you need a real copy of Microsoft Windows, not the ARM version of Windows, which is kind of a cut down version. So if I have an Apple, Apple Mac with an M1 chip, then that's not going to work, and I cannot use a virtualization product. I have to use an emulation product. And I'll tell you, if you go to, the Parallels website, it says, oh yeah, you can run Windows. Don't believe it. Well, they're not lying. You can run the ARM version of Windows. ARM is the name of a CPU architecture. That's not what we want. So that was never going to work. So I use UTM. I have a M1 Mac Mini, and I use UTM, and I installed Windows 10 and SQL Server, and they all work. I mean, not necessarily fast, but it all works. Then cloud-based solutions. This one says, I don't want to mess with it. My machine is so wimpy. I only got like 4 gig of RAM on my poor little machine, and I just can't do any emulation. Fine, then go to the cloud. You can have as many megabytes as you want, as long as you're willing to pay a little bit. So going to the cloud means all I have to have is an internet connection, right? And then I can install my software. Students have free access to Azure. Okay, so there's a thing called Azure Virtual Desktop, and it'll even come, in some cases, it'll even come with the operating system already installed. So you don't even have to do that part. And it works pretty great if you have a machine with like less than 8 gig of RAM. However, there's a problem. It won't work everywhere. It'll probably work from home, probably work from a coffee shop, but it won't work from the university. They have that feature blocked. It's a security issue from them. So none of the solutions are perfect, okay? So let's talk about Oracle VirtualBox. So it is free and open source. It's available for Windows, the early Intel versions of Mac. In Linux, it supports a gazillion. And if you wanted to go back in time and install some ancient thing, I want to install Windows 2000 or something like that, VirtualBox would probably be the only option available to you. I like being able to move a virtual machine between computers, like between the classroom computer and my computer at home. Man, that's fantastic. It's installed and supported by the IT folks at the university. Cool. And then, unfortunately, it works best when there's no other hypervisor present. So, unfortunately, what that means is like, for example, the machines in the classroom have the Hyper-V feature disabled so that VirtualBox will run better. Now, it's not absolutely required, but I'm telling you, the difference in performance is tremendous. So I always recommend that you disable the existing Hyper-V stuff on your Windows machine before you install VirtualBox. Okay, pros and cons. So Hyper-V, oh, fantastic. It's fast. It's just not portable. And it's only available for Windows Pro. So if you have Windows Home, that's not even an option. If I'm on Apple Silicon, the only choice I got is emulation. So UTM is the one that I use. And quite frankly, it is slow. I mean, well, noticeably slow. You move the cursor across the screen to click on something, you go, did I click on it? And then poof, it'll start to launch. It's like, wow. Cloud, great. Doesn't require much, a very robust machine. The only problem is you can't get there from the university. Well, that sucks. So which leaves us to VirtualBox. It's very portable. It's not as good as Hyper-V in a lot of scenarios, but man, it certainly checks all the boxes. So I would recommend that you use VirtualBox, and we have an upcoming video that basically explains how to install and configure it. Okay, so please pay attention to the next video.